Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the World War II British Infantry in 172 scale by Airfix. This set was released back in 2011, and it was about 30 years or so since Airfix had released a set of British Infantry. They had at one point released the Esky set in an Airfix boxing, but it was about 30 years or so since they actually had a dedicated Airfix set of British Infantry, which we've done a video on previously, so you can check that out to have a look. Basically, the box there, as you can see, shows looks like a nice photograph there of British soldiers in action. A couple of weird things going on there with that photograph, it must be noted. If you look at the officer figure in the back there, this guy here with the pistol, which is supposed to be a Webley, doesn't really resemble a Webley, looks like an old Colt Navy revolver from the Wild West. He has a box respirator on his chest, he has corporal stripes. So he looks, I don't know, he looks confused, I don't know. His rank is definitely wrong anyway, but that's a small thing. The guy here is armed with Mark III SMLE, as is this chap here, and as far as I can see, the SMLE isn't really represented in the box. Well, it possibly is, but it's hard to tell with the sculpt on the figures. We'll get into that in a minute. This chap here looks a little bit like Matt Damon is firing a Bren, which is quite nice, quite a nice image there, in fairness, no real complaints there. This lad here, of course, looks like another actor, a little bit Robert Mitchum looking there, young Robert Mitchum, with a Piat, that's fine too. And this lad here has the number 4 rifle, the number 4 Lee Enfield, of course, in 303, and quite obvious the difference between the number 4 and the number 3 as well there, as you can see. This guy here, interestingly enough, seems to have, I think it's a pattern 14 Enfield, which wouldn't be inaccurate to British forces during World War II, but would have been unusual to see such a mix-em gather-em, as they say, of rifles in one little squad. But there you go, that's just a curiosity of the box. Another curiosity I noticed as well when I got this set back in, when it was released in 2011, I think it was 2012 when I picked it up, is that this little silhouettes here on the box, they actually depict the Airfix commandos. There was a few other things depicted there as well, as some American paratroopers and some Marines on it too. But when I saw this, I thought, oh, excellent, they're going to release the British commandos, the Type 2 set. Of course, that never happened, unfortunately, but such a pity, and very cheeky of them, I thought at the time, to put that silhouette there. But anyway, there you go. Rest of the box then, as per usual. Look, it's just the usual stuff at the end of the day. Warnings, you know, don't eat soldiers, particularly if they're 172 scale. On the back, again, nice depiction of what is contained within the box itself, and gives you kind of an indication as to how many you get as well, which is quite nice. As you can see there, the figures look a little bit on the skinny side, but we'll get into that in a moment. So basically, I think we should probably have a look at the sprues. We'll start with this sprue here. We'll just move the box out of the way momentarily. As you can see there, these guys are armed on the left hand side there. I'll just pick it up a little bit for you. They're armed with a Sten. Now, it's not a bad sculpt, in fairness. There was a little bit of excess plastic, as you can see there, between the magazine and the soldier's left arm and chest, but look, you would get away with that with a good paint job. You could even maybe get that out with a scalpel if you wished. Not too bad at all. On the right hand side there, you have a Bren gunner. Again, as I say, he looks a little spindly in the legs, but that's not a major concern. But at the same time, it is a little bit inaccurate, I think myself. What is inaccurate is the handle on the Bren looks very long in the vertical and very short in the horizontal, whereas it should have been probably the other way around. Also, the muzzle of that Bren isn't great, it has to be said. On the back of the figures there, again, nice detail there. It's supposed to be 1937 pattern webbing, so it's not completely inaccurate. Looks quite good, and I think this will probably paint up fairly well, to be honest with you. I'm quite pleased with them. Just one or two little things aside, but other than that, netting on the helmet looks pretty cool, and it's nice to have the kind of a mix of guys with the netting and without. It's kind of just more natural, I think myself. These guys on the bottom of that sprue, you have a guy sort of, I suppose, basically marching or meandering or just walking along there. He has his Sten slung across his chest, sort of in a kind of a ready position. It looks pretty good, it has to be said. A little bit of flash here and there, but nothing that's a a scalpel won't take care of, in fairness. A lot of Stens in this, in fairness, no Thompsons, unfortunately. But hey, there you go. Detail isn't too bad at all, and I reckon these will probably paint up quite nicely. Again, the back of the figure, you have his entrenching spade there across his back. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, that's nice to see those kind of details put in there, I have to say. So no major complaints with that, to be fair. Nice set of figures. What else have we got here? Here we have, this is a guy advancing with what looks like the number 4 rifle. No bayonet, but no harm there either. Again, he's got a fairly lively kind of pose to him there, so I can't really complain about that. On the back again, plenty of equipment, which is nice to see, because the previous set of Airfix figures that Airfix released back in the 1970s or thereabouts, they were fairly bereft of equipment, it has to be said. And they were a little bit, they weren't as good as these, and these guys aren't the best set ever produced, but they're much better in comparison to these lads. That's the I won't say the original, because there was a set previous to that, I believe, over the 8th Army, but as you can see, there's even less detail there on the older guy. The rifle is indistinguishable. Not that this one is particularly distinguishable, but at the same time this one's even worse, and this guy of course has nothing more or less on his person as regards equipment. So you know, it's definitely a marked improvement from Airfix's perspective as regards to sculpting. On the bottom of that, you have guys kneeling down. Now again, this is where the sculpting fails a small bit on the weapons. That could be anything. That could be my shotgun. To be fair, who knows? I mean, the fact that it's a little bit snub-nosed would kind of lean towards me kind of saying, oh, maybe it's an SMLE Mark III, but at the end of the day, it's not a great sculpt of a Lee Enfield rifle or a P14 or whatever was depicted in the front of the box. Not brilliant, really. Having said that, the figure itself isn't bad at all, so it's kind of a shame that it was let down by the mould or the sculpt on the rifle. I mean, you can just about make out that, I think, probably by the muzzle it probably is a Mark III, but there's nothing happening there as regards the sights or the action of the gun itself, the bolts, anything like that. But there you go. But again, the webbing and stuff, that should come out fairly nice. He's got the netting on his helmet. Yeah, so happy enough with that, in fairness, other than the guns, unfortunately. What else we got here? Yeah, we have, I like this guy actually. This guy's carrying a roll of, could be det cord, it could be communications cable, wire, whatever. Looks quite nice actually, a really kind of a natural pose. Again, bit skinny in the legs, but hey, you know, not too bad. The back of that figure, then again, nice little bit of detail again as well as the equipment. I mean, yeah, could have been better, could have been worse, but as I say, I think they're going to paint up fairly decently enough, even with my mediocre skills. This guy here is the Bren Gunner in a lovely pose. That's a really nice pose, in fairness. Very natural, I have to say. Looks like he's just checking out whatever's in front of him, or just taking a bit of a rest. But a real natural sort of a pose, whilst in cover or something like that, or maybe walking down a road and just being told to halt. Again, unfortunately, the sculpt on the weapon lets him down a little bit. The muzzle isn't formed, and the buttstock isn't great either, unfortunately, because the rest of that is a lovely figure. And even if you go back to the back of the box there, you'll see it didn't work out for Airfix for their photo shoot either, but hey. So on the other end of the sprue here, we can just stay in focus, you have this guy who again looks like he may have the number 3 rifle. Again, detail is it's not great on it, to be honest with you, but it's not the worst, but it could have been far better. The figure itself, nice detail on him, I have to say. He does seem to have, what is that, a box respirator, which was kind of outdated by certainly by D-Day anyway, so I kind of wonder why he has that, but at the same time, you know, it's not too bad. Could you use him for early war games? Quite possibly, yeah, but Kind of odd they put that there. If this thing will just focus for us, here we go. Again, the back of the figure, not bad at all, it has to be said. Could have been better, absolutely. There are better sets out there. You're looking at Plastic Soldier Company, Caesar, and that type of thing. But these will certainly suffice in the interim anyway. I mean, as I say, I'm going to paint these up and I'm going to use them wargaming. So from that perspective, I'm not too worried. So let's have a look at another sprue. These guys here, as you can see, this guy's advancing. If we can focus, here we go. Now the bayonet is very short on that, and I'm looking at that rifle. It looks like it might be the number 4 with a slightly longer barrel protruding from the end of the rifle at the business end. The number 4 rifle had a spike bayonet which was quite short in comparison to the 1907, I think it was, pattern that would have been used on the number 3. Of course, the 1907 people were still expecting to be attacked by cavalry, so an infantryman would like a little bit of extra reach, whereas in 1944 the chances of being attacked by cavalry were fairly slim. So a shorter bayonet was probably more the order of the day, and in 172 scale that mightn't be too far off the mark, but it doesn't look great in that scale. I think a lot of people don't like that, but I think it's probably historically accurate, or as close as, to the dimension of that that little piece of extra weaponry. Again, detail on the figure isn't bad at all. Pouches, etc, etc. Uniform, fairly accurate. There's the odd pocket missing here and there, but you wouldn't worry about that. Here again, kind of suffering from the similarities to the other set I was talking about. A little bit skinny, battle dress is a bit tight. Sten, not too bad in fairness. Magazine, a little bit out of shape there, but I just trimmed that down with a blade, it'll be fine. On the other side here, we have, I just turn him around, that guy again, and we have 3 officers. To be fair, 1 would have been enough. You could have had a nice NCO with a Thompson or something instead of 2 other guys in these poses. Not a bad pose though, it has to be said. Far better than the officer in that other set I was speaking about, the other Airfix set. Binoculars around the chest, Webley drawn, helmet on. Nice to see the helmet instead of the peak cap. Back of the figure then again, looks like he's got a map case or something there. Bit of strapping and stuff, so yeah, pretty happy with that as well. Could have been better, could have been worse. So in fairness, I think that as regards Airfix, I think their effort is sort of like my school reports from back in the day. Good job, could have done better. These guys here again, it looks like the number 4 rifle, but check out the front sight on that. That is whacked out. That's crazy. That doesn't look right at all. That's very, very out of scale if you ask me. Not a great job on that rifle. Such a shame, because the figures aren't bad at all. As I say, a little bit spindly in the legs, but I'm willing to get over that. And you know, they've got the little bit of scrim in the helmets and that as well, so quite nice. Such a shame about the weapons, to be fair. Back of those figures again, nice little bit of detail. I mean, look, you can see there's the shovel, there's all the various bits and pieces, entrenching tools in place, canteen, etc, etc. You know, so not bad, and yet that rifle is a bit of a disaster really. Now I'll probably trim it down a little bit, or maybe I won't bother, I don't know, we'll see. But you know, that's a little bit annoying, I think myself. There's the Sten gunner repeated again. Like this guy, actually. Check this guy out. Again, the number 4 rifle. Sight looks a little bit better. Still not a great sculpt of that particular rifle, but not as bad as the standing guy firing. But check out what this guy's doing. He's walking forward in a slightly crouched position. He has his hand just over where the magazine would be, or just in that area, and he seems to be either working the bolt or possibly feeding a stripper clip, a 5-round stripper clip, into the weapon itself. That's a nice pose, and I like that. And again, nice detail on the back there as well. Can't really complain. So yeah, there are a few inaccuracies here and there throughout the set, but generally speaking, it's actually quite functionable really. It's not the worst at all. But as I say, it could have been a little better. What else we got here? This is Again, radio operator, what is that radio? Probably number 18, I think, or at least it's supposed to be. 2 radio operators, one usually enough, but it's nice to have a second one if you're doing any other little projects that might require a radio observer for artillery or mortars or that. So we got, how many of these guys did we get? We got 3 of these actually, so there's another one. Oh yeah, I had him by the head. But yeah, I mean, the detail isn't bad. It's a generic sort of representation of that radio, in fairness. A little bit of cabling there as well. Aerial would have been nice, but it's easy enough just to get a bit of wire and heat the end of it, stick it in there and paint it. You know, how bad. There's that Bren gunner again that we mentioned previously. Again, I love that pose. Such a shame about the muzzle. Now, this guy here, the Piat, which is obviously an anti-tank weapon, this guy should really have a number 2 as regards an assistant crewman. He doesn't, but and he's the only prone figure there, so there's no one else you can really start to utilise as a number 2 for that guy. And at the end there we have the 3rd radio operator. Looking at him, he looks a little bit awkward. I'm interested to see how this will operate taken off the sprue. Could be a disaster. It could work out quite nice. I think what he's doing is actually crawling forward into position with the weapon rather than obviously firing it, because I've held one of these at a military show many years ago, and I cocked it and pulled the trigger. It would not do it one-handed, even lying down, particularly with a round in the front of it there, as it is depicted. And this guy is crawling forward with his hand on the trigger. And I use firearms for sporting purposes. That is something you don't do, even if you're out in the field chasing rabbits or clay pigeons or whatever it is you're doing. That's dangerous, especially one of those things. But at the same time, it's not a bad figure, really. I'm kind of in 2 minds about it. We'll see how it goes. I will certainly paint him up, and he's very in use for rapid fire purposes, so I'll probably just use the 1, but we'll see how it goes. If it looks a bit awkward, doesn't it? A little bit, but we'll see how he goes. So that's basically it, guys. There was another loose one there, which is the Bren gunner. Just if you notice, one of the sprues was missing one soldier, but it's that Bren gunner there again, so we do have him. So that's kind of it. I'm going to crack on and paint these and get back to you, and we'll see how they turn out. As I profess, my disclaimer in advance is I am not the greatest figure or model painter in the world by any stretch of the imagination, and that would be at the wildest of stretches of imagination. But at the end of the day, look, I'll paint them up and we'll see how we get on. I'll be using these guys in combat fairly soon. So stay where you are, and we'll have another minute or 2 looking at the painted figures when I get back. Talk to you then. So we're back with the painted figures here. We just have a little selection of the riflemen at the moment. There's the standing rifleman, the kneeling rifleman, and the rifleman advancing, possibly working the bolt of his rifle or possibly putting a stripper clip into the box magazine. So they turned out okay. As I say before, loads of times my painting is only average at best, and basically all I did was a little bit of Humbrol 26 for the uniforms, and it was like 96 or something for the webbing, black, brown, etc, etc, and dry brushed in a little bit. Also put some Nuln Oil over the finished product then as well. So look, they're fine for me. I'm absolutely happy with that, based on beer mats and flocked with a little bit of Hornby Rainbow flock as per usual. So just to have a little look at the rear of those guys. Again, you can see the detail turns out fairly well. As I say, I'm not a great painter. I don't put an awful lot of effort into massive detail for war games figures. A general idea or general impression, as I say, is usually enough for me. So that's something I'm happy with those. But yeah, they're pretty decent enough, I have to say, as regards figures. I quite like them. Let's have a look at some of the other riflemen there. There's a guy advancing. Here's a guy with the I gotta take a fall. There's a guy with the roll of communications cable or det cord or whatever it is, advancing, and another guy advancing there. So they turned out all right, as I say. Quite happy with them. A few discrepancies with the figures themselves, as I mentioned in the earlier part of the video, or oddities. Style-wise, a little bit spindly in the legs, as per the previous Airfix set from 30 or 40 years ago, but I like them.
I have to say. They're quite nice. I think they give a nice range of poses in the set itself. I mean, yeah, as I say, a couple of curiosities here and there, and unfortunately the weapons just are not up to par with the figures at all for some reason. I don't know why that is. I mean, yeah, you get the impression, you know, of what it is. It's a rifle, it's a Sten, whatever. But it's such a pity because I thought the figures were pretty cool, actually, to be fair. So a bit unfortunate the weapons didn't work out as well. So let's have a look at the Sten gunners, because there's a few of those. I'll just remove these guys here rather gingerly. Where's that guy? There he is. So Sten gunners, what do we got? You can see there's a bit of flock coming loose here because I haven't actually hairsprayed or whatever the flock just yet. These are literally just done. So yeah, those guys, I'm happy enough with them. I really like that guy in the middle, actually. I think he's got character. He looks pretty good. I think he's going to look nice on a War Games table, advancing down through some Normandy town or something like that. Looks pretty good, I have to say. I like him. Nice bit of detail on there as well, a shovel, etc, etc. Of course I could have gone and done strappings and buckles and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not, just too old, too blind for that. Like the netting on the helmet. I like the fact that some of them have it, some of them don't. I think it's pretty cool. I reckon that it looks pretty good, and it's nice to have that little bit of variance, as I stated earlier. So let's have a look at who else have we got left. We've got the officer, radio communications guy, Bren gunners, and Piat, I think. So let's have a look at those. I'll just take the Stens out there for the minute, and we'll drop in the other guys. We got him, I have. Okay, so we got our Bren gunner, we got our officer. What else we got? Oh yeah, we got the small Bren gunner. So I really like that small Bren pose, actually, the crouch Bren pose, the smaller of the two. I just think it's got a lot of character. Pity, again, as I said, the muzzle didn't work out, but it really is a cool little pose, I have to say. Quite like it. Just looks really natural. And again, a little bit of netting on the helmet looks really good as well. The other Bren gunner there as well, I think he's pretty cool. As I said, the handle's a bit large on that Bren for my liking, but look, it's not the worst. I could have trimmed it off, I didn't bother. And again, netting on the helmet looks good. Backpack, etc, etc. Plenty of stuff going on there. I mean, if you were a better painter than I, or maybe just more patient, you'd probably do a much better job than that. The officer, as I said before, like this guy, like the pose. I think it's a cool pose, and that the helmet, as opposed to the old peak cap, is a great. It actually looks really good, and the Webley drawn and the bit of strapping and so on and so forth. So yeah, there's his map case and what have you. So yeah, pretty much like that guy. As I say, one would have been enough. They gave us 3 of them, but one would really have been sufficient. Same with these guys. They gave us 3 of these radio operators, which are quite nice. Again, very easy to put a bit of wire or something there in for an aerial. I didn't bother, at least not yet. You know, but one would have been sufficient. And I mean, you could argue that's 4 poses wasted, 2 with the extra 2 of these guys, and 2 with the extra officers, which could have been Vickers machine gun, mortar crew, you know, whatever. So unfortunately, you didn't get that with this set, but I'm augmenting it with the hat guys, which you've probably seen in a previous video. If not, do check it out. So that is a lot, apart from the Piat, I think. Now, as I said before earlier in the video, I was kind of concerned as to how this would work out or how it would look, and to a degree I still am, but I like it. As I say, excuse the flock everywhere, but is that going to focus? No. Maybe it will. Let me get that to focus. No, not at all. Typical. Just as I say it. But as I say, I was a little bit concerned with how it looked, and it doesn't look too bad, to be fair. Once it's flocked up and all that, like, I like it. but at the same time it would have been nicer to have it have a number 2 with it as well. So not the worst by any stretch of the imaginations, so it will do nicely and I will use it. So that's it, guys. That's the review of the 172 World War II British Infantry by Airfix, released I think it was 2012, I said at the start of the video. So that's that, basically. That's those guys. And hope you enjoyed the video. There's a close-up on who looks like Matt Damon. So we'll leave it at that. As I say, an interesting picture there at the start of the box art itself. But nice to see Airfix had produced some British infantry, being a British company. As I say, I'm an Irishman, but at the same time, nice to see Airfix. As I say, they're my traditional go-to guys. Back and forward there. Pity they didn't do a few other releases at the same time. So that's it. More stuff coming up fairly soon. I hope you're all well and keeping safe and all the rest of it. And we'll talk to you then. All the best. Take care.